So guys, here I am again. When I say again, because I've actually come back to the Bacup area. It's just so gorgeous out here. So many paths and fields, as you can see. So I'm going to try this one today and see where this goes to. And I want to talk about our working world today. So how do we spend our time in our working world now? Is it still 9 to 5? Do we still work towards the weekend? And at the weekend, do we go mad? Friday night we go out. Well, for the young ones or the single ones, do we go out and party all night, have as much alcohol and whatever else you take that keeps you going through the night? And then the same for Saturday night, and then Sunday's just like the hangover day where you've got to get over your hangover and then get everything ready again for Monday. And the weekend just shoots by, doesn't it? It's just like, oh my god, what happened to that? And if you're so badly hungover on the Sunday, still some butterflies around, lots of butterflies. And if you're still hungover on the Sunday and you just stay in bed all day, that's your Sunday completely gone, and everything that you vowed you would do, get done, washing and ironing or whatever, doesn't. So you've got to do that through the week as well as go to work. I know there were sort of lots of changes when I was in the working world coming in about, work-life balance, and do the hours that you want, and go home, come in early or come in late and go home early or late. Things like that helped you with family life. And I wonder if any of you took that up and whether that actually worked. And this is going to be before COVID, because COVID just took everything away. So pre-COVID, what was your working world like? Were you working? Was it 9 to 5? Did you take on this work balance hours that they offered you? And how did it work? How did it work for you? Was it good? Did it help? So in those days we were also earning money that we could go and spend. Do you remember being able to spend money? So at the weekend, if you hadn't been partying, or if you were a family, you'd go to the shops and max out your credit card and know that you could pay it off at the end of the month. So did you manage to get back to work after COVID? And did you get back to the same job, or did you have to find another job? And what about the working life balance that you'd had beforehand? Was that still readily available? I know that when COVID came in, a lot of people were allowed to work from home, and after that nobody wanted to go back, did they? And I don't know if some of you actually just gave up working then. We'd had so much time off, hadn't we? I'd spent it looking after Cass, who was not very well, searching for jobs on the internet to keep me going, working for Uber and Amazon and whatever I could grab, because I was self-employed, so I could just easily do that. So that's what I was doing until obviously I cracked up and moved out, but that was because I lost Cass. That was the final straw. So what about you when you came out of COVID? There were losses, weren't there? There were deaths, parents and grandparents, and I think a lot of us came out traumatised, struggling to get back into the working world and just being normal again. And maybe you haven't worked at all for all of your life through disability. But really what I want to know is how many of my subscribers actually don't work at all anymore, really. And if you want to put anything in the comments about why you're working or not working, that would be brilliant too, because it's good to know how people's lives are going, what your struggles are. Oh, look at that. So for me, I've been in almost all the different working worlds that you can do or be in. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur all my life, and I've started up quite a few little businesses, some that did well, some that flopped, and then I ran, bigger businesses like the transport company with my husband. We employed people. So I've been in different worlds all through my life, barring when I left home at 17. So barring what happened at 17, when I walked out of home and did live-in jobs, when my world normalised at round about the age of 22 in Reading, that's when I started proper work, as you might call it. So working in offices. And you started at the bottom rung, didn't you? I had to, most definitely. I didn't have any qualifications. I didn't have any qualifications except for a couple of O levels. I wasn't qualified in anything. I've always called myself a jack of all trades, and that is what I will always be. But anyway, you started at the bottom, especially as a young person, and you worked in the office, and you were working to get up the career ladder. So you'd get the pay rises, didn't you, each year, and then you'd get like, I can't remember what it's called, but you go from one standard to the second standard. I mean, I worked for the AA, and you started as a Biz 1, which was bottom of the line, answering the phone, taking the breakdown details, and then you went into Biz 2, where you were doing exactly the same thing, but felt a little bit more senior, and then you worked your way up to supervisor. And that's how you did it in our working world, in my era. And you had pretty good pay, even at the bottom rung. You had pretty good pay. You worked the hours you were given. You were very rarely asked to do any more. Ooh, have a bit of a rest here. You were barely asked to do any more hours. Maybe you'd finish off something anyway, and you wouldn't get paid extra for it, and you never asked for extra pay for it. But you were never abused or threatened by managers or made to feel bad. It was the proper working world. So and then, I was married, and I met my husband when I worked in one of the offices, and then we got married, and we had our 2 children, and he worked in a transport company, and he knew that he could start that business, and he did. We did leaflets, we walked the streets for hours and hours and hours doing leaflets on all the industrial estates, everywhere we could think that there was a business around, we'd shove a leaflet through. And then once I got in those vans, I loved it. Could not keep me off the road. I just loved it. It was like beating men at their own game. So a lot of young people in that time did start up their own businesses in many things. I mean, one of the guys we knew, he was renting out the vans that we rented from him when we needed an extra van. So he started that up, and he was called Apple, in Reading. It's all closed and gone now, I think. But he started his business up, and you know, that grew. People were doing that, and we were able to do that in that time. We were able to be entrepreneurs and business owners. We weren't being taxed huge taxes or thought of as small businesses that should not be there, which is how it is nowadays. The big businesses want to be up there, and they want everything underneath to be gone except the worker. So this place obviously gets busy in the summer. These are tables you can sit at with rocks as chairs. Got a play area. So after my divorce, I realised I needed to get qualifications. So that's when I decided to do the OU degree and get my psychology degree, because I always wanted to work with children. That actually took me 5 years to get. But I didn't just do that. I didn't just stay at home and have no money. The children went to school locally, and I worked in factories. Always worked in these factories. There was millions of them. They were always looking for workers. So I'd do the mum's shift, which was 9 to 3. And, you know, sausage factory, chicken factory, burger factory, you know, all the horrible ones. And you just worked on the line and packaged the food, you know, it was very simple. Didn't have to think about anything. And I did that for 5 years. And then once I'd got my degree, I immediately started working in a homeless hostel for young people, which was a really lovely job, and I stayed there a couple of years. And then I moved on to, I found a job up on the Wirral, which was a specialist job, searching for help and advice for children ages 0 to 14 or 15, I think. So I did that. And then where did I go next? Oh yeah, I went to work in social services for a while. That was on agency. But these are all the jobs that I did once I got my degree. And then I think I got tired then, and I wanted to go back to driving. And there was this job advertised in the paper, a company called Pronto, and they were looking for chauffeur drivers. So I applied there, and they got me my licence, my badge, and I worked for them until they went bust. They closed down, and then I went on to King Cabs. This is all really self-employed work by now. This is self-employed stuff, paying your own tax and insurance and everything. And worked for King Cabs, and then my son had got to 17, 18, and he'd had enough of school, and he said, you know, I want to go and come out and work. And he'd found this beautiful BMW. You've seen the picture of it. And he found this beautiful BMW, and I started driving that as my taxi. And then we said, you know what, we can do this ourselves. I've got a load of customers that would love to be taken to the airport in this car. I mean, we tinted it and we caused a lot of ruckus for the council. They called us in and told us off and gave us tellings off about the tinted windows, but we stuck with it, and they gave up in the end. And so we developed our company. We ran the transport business for a good few years until my son left home. And then I carried it on a smaller scale. It was quite a big scale when we ran it together. We had about 4 or 5 drivers who did work for us, and it was constant on the go. Very, very busy. But it was wonderful because it was our business, and we didn't care that we were up all hours because it was our business, and we worked very hard in it. We loved it. But anyway, he went on to a proper job, and I brought the business down to a very small business. And obviously while I was trotting along doing that, COVID came along, and that was it. Everything was just a complete and utter meltdown mess, wasn't it? Which we all had to get through one way or another. So I've worked in a lot of different worlds, a lot of different working worlds. There was the office world, which was 9 to 5. In the entrepreneur and business world, it was a different thing, wasn't it? It was a nail-biting time because you always wanted to make sure you had enough work coming in and that the finances were stable, and you'd be working all hours, and half the time you wouldn't even bother looking in the mirror if you were doing the things that we were doing, but you'd always try to look sort of quite tidy and normal when you were out in the real world. But it was it was just your own business, and everything depended on what you did, how hard you worked, and the effort you put into it. And that's a really great feeling, and I really do wish that they would support entrepreneurs in this country again, because the amazing feeling that you get when you get your first customer or your first pay, your first invoice paid, it's just such an amazing feeling, and it keeps you going. But from what I see now, that sort of thing, there's people coming out. So. Oh, they've got horses. Hiya, Dal.
She was just wandering along, bless her. She's got a stick at the minute, but she's got to reverse again.
Yeah.
Far. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I was saying before the horses came along that it's just so changed now. The government doesn't seem to want entrepreneurs to build their own businesses. They just want us to work very, very hard and for very little pay. And it's just very sad that we cannot build our own businesses anymore. And in fact, lots of little businesses are going down. The pubs, the local shops, they're all closing down because they can't afford the taxes. It's a very, very harsh world we live in right now. When I did agency work, it was actually quite good. I think it's probably pretty awful now, especially if you work for someone like Amazon. But when I did it, they always appreciated the fact that you turned up. In the very early days, the regular staff would look down at you because you were just agency. But a few years back, after COVID really, when I started agency work, the managers and even the staff were really appreciative that you turned up and did the work. So agency work was okay then. I got paid on time. Wasn't bad pay. It was okay. But I think that's changed a lot now as well, hasn't it? I think agency work, if you go for something like Amazon, you have to work and work and work, and there's nobody who cares about you. They're not out to look after you or talk to you if you've got an issue, or you just 10 a penny. Probably being an Uber cyclist or whatever would probably be better than working in some of these agency places like shelf stackers and all of that. You're treated really badly. It's 0 hours. It's hard hours as well. They can be long hours. They can be early starts or late finishes, and you're expected to do it all, and you're expected to do it all in a certain time. I remember that one place I went to work with, that was exactly how it was, and if you didn't do it in a certain time, you were getting earfuls from the manager. It's all about bullying now and pushing. There's no career prospects. There's no prospects at all. They want you in, work, go home, be back in the next day, and the pay's awful. You're paying tax. We're just workers now, little worker bees for the big companies. That's all it's about now. And that's not what the UK used to be. And I'm really sad about the loss of good jobs. Do you remember you used to work and you used to build your career because you were working towards buying your first flat or first car or starting a family? So that's what you worked for, and that's how you built your career up. And it worked well. I mean, you had incentive, and you had incentive to work, didn't you? There was something at the end of it that you could work towards, and you could build your career. And so you could work towards earning more money. And that's with doctors and nurses and that. I think that's very hard to do now. I don't think it's so easy to build your career. You know, the government says we need immigration because we need more workers. And the reason that we need more workers is because none of us will do these horrible jobs that I've been talking about, the 0-hour jobs, because that's not what we were brought up with. That's not what you younger ones have seen your parents do. And it's something that you're doing now, and it's something that you don't want to do, and so you're leaving. And you're packing up and you're going home and you're not going back to work. So that's why legal migration, I won't talk about illegal migration, that's a completely different thing, but that's why legal migration came to be, because they needed the workers in. They needed migrants in to do the jobs that we won't do. But they don't understand the reason that we don't do them is because there is nothing at the end of that tunnel. But maybe they do understand. Maybe that's their agenda. Been building up over the years, so people say. So basically what they want are migrants who will come in and work very hard for very little money, and they do. And they don't moan about it because they probably come from a country where there was no work or no safety. So they come in and they do the jobs. And then we walk out and go home and say, well, I'm not doing it. And then the government says, well, you know, if you're not going to work, we're not going to pay your benefits anymore. But what they've actually done is they've taken the work ethos away. They've changed that completely now. They've turned it from a country that was built on small shops and entrepreneurs into a country where you work and you keep your mouth shut. Work is no longer about starting at the bottom and working up. It seems to be about getting you to work in these low paid jobs, not having a career, not thinking about a career, just going to work, doing the work, getting paid the wage that you get, and in these warehouses and even in office jobs and even in care jobs and working in the NHS as a care worker, not a registered nurse or anything, but all of these jobs are badly paid because they know they can badly pay it, because they know that there are people who will take it, the people who have come from other countries who were desperate and now have got used to it. And that's what they want the indigenous people to do. So the Brit who's been used to earning a decent wage, working to get up the ladder, building their career, has lost all of that, and now we're just expected to work for low wages and many hours, 0 hours, whatever, and we're not happy with it. So we've walked away, and in the meantime the government have hiked in a whole load of people from other countries to come and do the jobs that we won't do, and they blame it on us. They say, well, you won't do the job, so we've got to have other people do it. But we're saying no, we liked working, we were building our careers. Even if we worked in warehouses, we were still building our careers and looking up the ladder, looking to build our wage and our salary and our career up. So, you know, the government have taken that away from us. I think companies have made a rod for their own backs. I do. Eventually this will turn on them. Even the people who've come to live here, who've settled here from other countries, I think they won't be happy about the way that they're treated. But you can't blame the migrant workers who've come over. because they were promised work and good pay and housing. And maybe that is how it started. And maybe that is how it started. I'll start walking again. So you can't blame the migrant worker. When they came over, they were promised a lot of stuff, and they probably got that to start off with. But I think they're having it all taken away now. They're earning low wages and got long hours. You know, perhaps if we talk to the people like from the Windrush era, when they came over, they thought that they could, you know, start by working these menial jobs and build their lives up. But they couldn't. They haven't been able to, because just like us, we've had it all taken away by our governments. We've had our life where we could build everything taken away, and that's been for the people who came over to live in this country as well. And soon that's going to backfire. That's going to backfire on the companies. So maybe by getting these other immigrants that are coming in on the boats in, maybe they're going to take over from them, so they'll start on the very low pay. And there's a lot of them, so there's a lot of work to go around, no doubt. And maybe that's how it'll go. Maybe that's what the future plan is, or what they've been planning all this time, is eventually the very wealthy will keep very wealthy, because they have all the workers they need working for very low pay, very many hours, and we can't say a word, we can't do anything, you know, benefits are taken away. Basically we're sort of left on our own to live or die. I don't think it's just the indigenous, I think it's everybody over the last 40 years or so that have come over and started living in this country. I think we've all seen our work-life balance demolished, our career prospects gone. Well, they didn't ask to come here and be cheap labour, but I think they're in the same situation. I think we're all in the same situation. I think we don't see it. So when they were offered this work, these jobs, and told to come to our country because we'll give them a much better life, I think it was probably all a lie. I think it was all a plan all along. What do you think? That when they came over, they were able to then start reducing wages, and so they've been able to keep doing that, keep reducing the hours, well, keep putting up the hours that you worked and reducing your wages. And I don't think they saw that coming when they came over. I think they came over here to build a world for themselves, a career, a life. Although we keep grumbling about immigration being too high, I do have to wonder if those who have lived here now, who have come to this country 40, 50 years ago, I think they probably feel the same way. I think they probably feel immigration is too high, because this is their country now. This has been their life, and now all of a sudden a whole load more people are coming in. And so they see exactly what the indigenous are saying, you know, immigration is too high. I think it's too high for a reason. So I have looked at our world from different angles over the last year or so, and I have come to the conclusion that if we don't fight back now, if we don't start fighting back now and demanding better work, balance, better pay, to build businesses, and if we don't get communities together, then we will lose it all. We will become a third world working for the elites. We will have nothing. So we need to build our communities back up. We need to talk to each other a lot more. We need to talk to everyone. We don't just need to talk to the indigenous ones. We need to talk to the ones who have migrated over and see how they feel about the changed country. Because I think we'll get a shock. I think those who really integrated will say, it's a bad world now. It's really changed. I don't know what to do about it. I've got nowhere else to go. This is my country now. But it's going. So we do need to build our communities back up. It's really important. These days it all comes down to profit. The very wealthy with their very big businesses in pharma and all these big businesses, farming even, they want to make the money, they want to make the profits, and they don't want to pay the worker any more than they have to. Our world is changing. So I think the elites, the super wealthy, have sold us out for profit. I think they've sold us out for cheap labour and high profits. And damn the rest of us. That is my opinion right at this moment. How do you think about it? How do you think our world, our life in the UK is going? We're not going to be much of what we used to be much longer. Let's try and get it back before it's too late. So have our elites in the business world sold us out for cheap labour and low salaries and long hours to make profit? I think so.